so let's talk about absolute value in general, okay? If I'm going to take the absolute value of a number, what does that mean? If I want to take the absolute value, here I'm just going to kind of write this off to the side. The absolute value of a negative 5, what's that answer? 5, okay? What's the absolute value of a positive 5? 5. So it doesn't change the sign, it just means, basically it's its distance from 0, and distance is positive, right? Make sense? Okay, so then I want you to think about it this way. What if I said I have the absolute value of x equals 8? Then what does x equal? 8 or negative 8, exactly. It could be 8 or it could be negative 8. Does that make sense? So the way you actually solve this is you say, all right, because in here, this could be a positive or negative 8. So I would say that x equals 8 or technically it's negative x equals 8, right? And then that would mean that x would equal negative 8. So my two answers are negative 8 and 8. Does that make sense to you? We good? And just put in a little set notation. Do you have a question, or are you just saying good? All right. We're all good with that, just in general, right? So that we can then make this work for equations. All right. So here, I have the absolute value of something equals 98. We're going to kind of model this right here. So the absolute value, so that means that this, whatever's inside of here, negative 2 minus 10w can equal 98. And I have two things I have to set up. The negative of this, so I'm going to have negative and then parentheses, negative 2 minus 10w equals 98. Everybody understand why we have this and then we have the negative of that, right? Are we good? So then I'm going to solve them. Two totally separate things. Don't try and solve them together. Just set them both up. Otherwise, you're going to forget to do one. All right. So here I want to solve for w. So what do I do with this 2? Add it to the other side. So that'll give me negative 10w equals 100. Then I divide both sides by a negative 10, and I get that w equals what? 10. Positive 10? Or this would give me 100 over negative 10. What's a positive divided by a negative? Negative, so this is actually negative 10. So there's one of my two answers, because I'm going to get two answers every time. So my other answer, I'm going to come back over here and solve this. So this negative sign, I need to distribute it in here. So negative times a negative 2 is a positive 2. Negative times a negative 10 is a positive 10. And that's equal to 98. What do I do with that 2? Well, I got to move it. Okay, Adrian and Adrian, my two problem children. Why aren't y'all taking notes on this? Informative? Why doesn't it like you? What is this? What are all those words underneath it? Is it saying we're having trouble? Okay, that's why. Okay, got it. That's why I can't see it. Ugh. Oh. Since this is a positive 2, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So I'm going to get 10w equals 96. All right? This is not hard. Oh, it's hard writing. Yes, I know. If you have a stylus, that helps. And those devices are going to come in soon, and you won't have to do this very long. You can do this. Okay. So then I'm going to get w equals 96 divided by 10. I do not want a decimal. Okay? We're going to reduce the fraction. Pretty easy, because the numerator and the denominator are both even, so you know for a fact they're both divisible by what? 2. So this can equal 5 in the denominator. Half of 90 is 45, and then half of 6 is 3, so I get 48 up here. So that's my other answer. So my answers then for w are negative 10 and 48 over 5. But remember, when you're trying to write on your phone, zoom in, turn it landscape. That might help too. Is it not helping? Oh, okay, that's okay that it's on top of it like that. Just make sure you know what you're doing here. Well, if it moves the image when you're doing it, it's because you don't have the pin selected and you're actually like choosing to move things. All right, so this is my answer for this one. What questions do we have? Everybody okay with where everything came from? Speak up if you don't know. You good? Kevin, you good? Okay, well, do the best you can. All right, let's try the next one here. Okay, so if I have something in front of the absolute value, I have to move it first. So I can treat that like it's a parenthesis. So I can divide both sides first by this -4, just because it's being multiplied right here. So when I divide both sides by the -4, and these cancel out, that's going to leave me with the absolute value of 7 minus a equals positive or -9? Positive. So now that you have your absolute value isolated, now is when you split it into 2. Okay? So that means that I'm going to set up 7 minus a equals 9 and negative parentheses 7 minus a equals 9. You cannot forget those parentheses. Okay? Those are super duper important. Then I have 2 different things to solve here. So here I'm going to start by subtracting 7 from both sides. So I will get negative a equals 2. But I don't want negative a, I want a. So what does a equal? How did I get a equal? Because I subtracted 7 from both sides. Okay. So I get a equals -2. So that's one of my 2 answers. What do I need to do first here? Distribute. Very good. So this is going to give me -7 plus a equals 9. Then I want to get a by itself. So that -7, I'm going to have to add it to both sides. So I get a equals 16. And then my answers are a is -2 and 16. Okay. How do we feel about that? Yeah, if there's an answer blank, you can ignore that. You don't have to put in the answer there. All right, any questions at all? Okay. On this next one, look at everything you have. And unlike parentheses, I can't distribute the 2 right there. I can distribute this negative because these are parentheses. These aren't parentheses, so I don't get to distribute the 2 there. But what do you think the first thing we would do is on this one? Add 9. Because it's pretty much like solving any other equation, right? I'm trying to isolate that absolute value, so I got to move everything else. I'm going to move this first. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Right? So when I add 9 to a -43, that's going to give me a -34. Is that right? Yeah. So then I'm left with that equals 2 times the absolute value is 6 plus 8k. Then what do you think I do next? Divide by 2. Very good. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So that these cancel out, and I'll get a -17 equals the absolute value of 6 plus 8k. See if you can finish that question now that you have the absolute value isolated. And those of you that were absent on Friday, make sure you go back and do the notes from Friday. The video is on YouTube. The links are in Schoology and everywhere else. Remember, once you're here, you've got to set up 2 equations. Do you remember what to set up? Set them both up. Good. Okay, you have this. You can't change that sign. It has to be a positive. I'm sorry, a negative 17. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that was just a brain fart. It's fine. And brain farts all the time, unfortunately. Okay, so you let negative 17 equal whatever's inside of there. And then the other one is negative 17 equals the negative of whatever's inside of there. Okay. So, as a little reminder, oops. My two equations, I'd have negative 17 equals 6 plus 8k. And then I would also have negative 17 equals negative, parentheses, 6 plus 8k. Okay, see if you can solve those two. And if you have them flipped around like you did Uriel, it's totally fine. That's it's a laminator back there. All right. See if you agree with those. They're not pretty numbers, but it's okay. You're going to get fractions, and you don't want these to be decimals. Like, that's your answer, not the decimal answer, whatever it may be. If we don't agree, if you have questions, speak up. We all good? No, please don't break your phone. All right, you can move on to the next one and try it if you want. I'll be there in a sec. Just letting everybody get caught up here. All right, are we all caught up on this one? What's the first thing we would do here? Subtract 1. Good. So go ahead and subtract 1 from both sides. After you subtract 1, what would the next step be? Divide by negative 10. Good. So go ahead and do those two steps on your own. That's where you should end up. Try and get there without just copying mine down, and then check yourself. And if you don't know where something came from, let me know. And then remember, you can't drop your absolute value signs until you write your two separate equations for it, right? So if you've gotten to this step, then go ahead and write out your two equations. And then in just a second, I'll write mine out. Make sure that you can get them written out correctly, and then we'll let you solve them. Or if you feel confident, want to go ahead and go through it. Do you have a question? You see it now? Okay. Try and write your two separate equations without looking at mine. Double check that your two equations are right. Once you write them, then if they are, finish it up. Not even on the same page as us, are you? You are. Okay, good. Get it done. You have a question? Do you have a question? Oh, okay. All right. That's what I got. When you're done, check yourself. If you feel good about it, you don't have any questions, go on and do the last one on your own. But if you have questions, speak up. Well, it's being subtracted, so you would add it. So it'd be 3n plus 5. Make sense? You're going to negative 9r, negative 3. You have to distribute it to both. So you want that to be a minus 3. That make sense? I'll go on the next one. Oh, no, that's right. Sorry. Wait, what did I do? I did something wrong. I totally did something wrong, didn't I? Y'all didn't stop me. Yeah, the 6 is supposed to be positive. Nobody corrected me. If I do something stupid, because I was about to tell him he was wrong, but he's not wrong. He's right and I'm wrong. I was like, that doesn't match mine. Yeah, here's where I messed up here. This is 3 when I add 3. This is a positive 3. I have no idea where I got the negative, why I made it negative 6. So then that means when I go here, this is a positive 6 over a negative 9, which makes this a negative 2/3, which means this should be negative 2/3, 0. Sorry, I usually don't do things that stupid. I just made stuff up there. You with me on what was not right? This is why you should not just copy mine down. It's the same. So you can either do negative 2/3, negative, and then like out in front, which is officially how it is, or 2 over negative 3. All 3 of those are really the same thing. You're fine. Totally fine. Okay, so this is not the answer because I messed up. Sorry. Okay. So you should be working on the last one. I'm going to work through it too, but again, I don't want you just copying mine down. I want you to try and think through it, get it finished up, then check with mine. If it doesn't match, see if you can figure out why. Let me know if you need help with it, okay? Or if you need help along the way. So if you want to stop and check at the writing the equations part of it, I'll leave it at this point for just a minute for you to check those before you move on. When you're done, check it with mine. Please ask me questions if you have questions. If we don't agree, make sure I'm not the wrong one. And if you did make a mistake, just make sure you know where you made it and what happened. Because if you made a mistake because you added wrong or made up a sign like I did, it doesn't mean that you don't understand absolute value. It's just a, brain fart or whatever. Looks good. Yep. 2 nights? That's what I have. Oh, you have negative. Oh, let's see. Did I mess up again? Oh my God. No. I was thinking I did. So you have negative 9. Oh, it's because when you divide, this is negative and this is negative. So to divide by negative 9, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to find your own mistake because you just keep looking at it. You thought it was right the first time, so why wouldn't you think it's right now, right? We good? So if you're good, we agree, and you're done, you can submit your notes, and I want you to get started on your Delta Math. And don't try and do your Delta Math by just staring at it. Get a piece of paper out. Use a notebook if you have one, or use separate sheets of paper in your binder. I don't care. I have notebook paper back there. But get started on it. That way, if you're not understanding something, I can help you now. Okay? But I will leave this up there to make sure that you get what you need out from this. Okay? And remember, quiz tomorrow.